Danny Trejo is trending. What did Machete do?
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The slant, yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Polly, let's go.
Polly back here on the Latino slant. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you are and consider becoming a member. We have great perks all the time, including one-on-ones with filmmakers, actors, and musicians. That's right. Live music concerts once a month here on the slant. All right. Danny Trejo's memoir is out and he is trending because of a great article and interview he gives to the Los Angeles Times. And who doesn't love a good story and trending about Machete? Really, Danny Trejo, think about it, is the first Chicano action icon ever. So here we go. Let's get right into it. And here's some of the trending topics. Danny Trejo opens up about being typecast and a close call with the Mexican Mafia. Acting wasn't new to me. I acted to survive in my childhood, writes Danny Trejo in his new memoir. He talks with the Times about it. And really, we're just going to jump right into it because anytime that Danny Trejo is trending, I'm like, what's going on? I knew the movie I knew the book was due to come out for last several months. We did a little preview of it a few months ago, but now that it's out, he's saying that he's typecast. I'm very curious about what he has to say in regards to being typecast. So let's get right to the LA Times article. That would be great. There we are. So Danny Trejo opens up about being typecast, close call with the Mexican Mafia. There's a great photo of him looking all macheted out. Recalling his years behind bars recently, actor Danny Trejo sometimes snorted or rubbed his face with both hands as if bracing himself against traumas half a century old. Some of these stories have been told. Many have informed his wildly prolific work. And most important, are collected in his new memoir, Danny Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption in Hollywood. In conversation, as perhaps on set, they flash across his face like involuntary tics. When I'm playing an insane, crazy person, I've been there. I've seen that, Trejo said during a video interview from his home in Los Angeles. I didn't want to be there. That place that you can go is very, very real. A Hollywood genre actor, beloved for his roles and his off-screen acts of selflessness, Trejo got his big break in the business after visiting a film shoot in 1985 to help someone on set who was battling an addiction recovery. He'd done it himself decades earlier. Deep in a hole at Soledad State Prison, Danny had promised God to help his fellow human every day if he could die with dignity, and had gone sober. An assistant director stopped him that day on the set. You have a good look, the crew member said. Can you play a convict? Funny question. He got hauled into a police station for the first time at age 10, he writes. From that point on, he spent years engaging in criminal mayhem in the San Fernando Valley, up and down the state, cycling through juvenile and state prisons and never expecting to come out alive. Could he play a convict? And here's a great shot. The early 60s with Danny and Joe Mayer, who he really accounts for saving his life. Oh, look at Danny. Wow. As an extra in Runaway Train that year, Trejo stood out so much that he had got a scene built around him, showing off boxing skills he'd honed in prison. In short order, he began appearing in a proliferation of shows and films as an archetypical supporting character. Prisoner, second inmate, tough prisoner number one are some of the roles he's played since. I didn't know it was being stereotyped, Trejo told the Times. I just knew I was working. And I think the fact that I was stereotyped for so long got a lot of people's jobs. So we just got a lot of people jobs. So we just opened the door. That's a great way to see it. Trejo's face, famously mangled by lived experience, offers an ideal expressive palette for the actor he became. He can convey rage and humor like few other villains on screen. In 1995, Trejo shared a riveting death scene with Robert De Niro in Michael Mann's Heat, one of many displaying Trejo's uncanny skill at playing someone on the brink of expiring. I've got the record for deaths in films, he says. It just means a lot that I work. Robert Rodriguez then gave him a signature role in Desperado. In 2001, Rodriguez specifically created for Trejo the role of Machete in Spy Kids, which then recurred in a spin-off Machete series, establishing perhaps the only character in film history to straddle the genres of kids adventure and grindhouse horror. That's a great point. While the general arc of Trejo's stories are well known, many other formative details and wild intersections are revealed for the first time in the book, co-written with actor and longtime friend Donald Logue. I don't know if you know who Donald Logan. Recently in the TV show The Vikings, he played King Horik. Horik or Ulrich? One of those guys, one of those Vikings. The result is an often eye-popping personal narrative that belongs among the great California memoirs. The reader's treated to a deep dive into barrio culture as it is lived in the valley in the 50s and 60s. From an early age, he understands the true distance between the glitter of nearby Hollywood and his world of drug dealing and bare-knuckle violence. But over the course of Trejo's life, those worlds can collide in staggering ways. Yeah, just taking a break and seeing this amazing photo. Both Danny Trejo and Donald Logue are very close friends, and you often see him doing a lot of public service work, charity work through their 12-step programs. In fact, I've seen them speak several times, and they are some amazing, honest dudes. One crystallizing episode came when Trejo was weighing offers to appear in two films in the works in the early 90s. One was American Me, to be directed by Edward James Olmos. The other was Blood In, Blood Out by Taylor Hackford. Both sought to tell the story of the founding of the Mexican Mafia. It was a sensitive subject. Trejo, with his imposing physique and years of time served, would have been a great fit for either film. There was a problem, though. The Mexican Mafia, or La M, is highly secretive and notorious for its ruthless executions according to federal cases. Word is already getting around in the penitentiary system that the American Me script took offensive narrative liberties related to prison rape and La M's fraternal codes, which were upsetting real-world gang leaders. The proposed film would also implicitly use the term M, another no-no. Seeking to cast Trejo almost arranged for a meeting. Trejo showed up at Jerry's in Encino. It's a Jerry's Deli, as anyone might have for a Hollywood sit-down. In casual business attire, surprisingly almost appeared in full cholo wear, Trejo writes, including a blue shirt buttoned up to the top and flying open to the bottom. Trejo says Olmos was trying to speak like an OG from the streets throughout the meeting. Everything was theatrical, Trejo recalled of Olmos' pitch. And I said, you're not dealing with theatrical people here. You're dealing with people who get mad and show up in the middle of the night. Sure enough, just before a second meeting with Olmos, Trejo got a message. Joe Morgan wanted to talk. Joe Pegleg Morton, incarcerated at the time, was the living Don of Leme. Joel Morgan doesn't just call people unless he's saying, you're dead, Trejo said. He took the call on the home phone of his friend Eddie Bunker, an industry insider he'd known since their time together in prison. Morgan got right down to business. He asked Trejo which movie he'd do. Trejo said he's leaning on Blood In. I'll never forget. Oh yeah, Joe Morgan said. The cute one. Trejo recalled with a laugh. Morgan approved the choice. Wow. Oof. Thinking back on those early encounters with Almost led Trejo to reflect on his struggles to be treated as an equal among Hollywood's elites. I'm going to tell you the truth, he told me. I don't think Eddie Almost has accepted me as an actor yet. Almost did not respond to a request for comment about this passage. In the book, Trejo emphasizes his admiration for Almost and his advocacy for Chicanos in Hollywood. Let me just say one thing about this. When we asked Mr. Olmos to do a reunion of American Me, he flat out said no. I will not do a reunion panel. Let's do it on Stand and Deliver. Now I understand why. And I respect that, Mr. Olmos. Moving on. Donald Logue, who grew up largely in the Calexico border region, first met Trejo on the set of Reindeer Games, 2000. Said in an interview there was trepidation about detailing Trejo's memoirs related to American Me. Eddie Almost is a giant in our world of movie making, Logue said. What happened there was an interesting intersection with our world, which was one that, frankly, Danny always questions his role in. Almost, a highly respected industry veteran, made American Me as a morality play to warn youth about the dangers of prison life. Yet the two stories' ripple effects in the real world were unmistakable. 2 consultants who worked on the film were killed, including a beloved gang intervention worker. Trejo contends that as many as 10 people were killed in either prison or outside the system in relation to working on American Me. I remember that. Trejo, for his part, took a smallish role in In Blood, In Blood Out, an experience that allowed him to return to San Quentin for the first time since he was an inmate there, this time as an actor. Worlds collided again. During the filming, he writes, Trejo was able to roam almost freely inside the facility. For him, that was the site of so many horrors. Early passages of the book describe mortal dangers lurking around every corner in San Quentin. In a state of full circle, he even shot a few scenes inside C550, his actual cell in the prison South bunker. Wow. His reflections in such key moments are finally rendered. You got to remember, he said, in 1968, I made a deal with God. I said, if you let me die with dignity, I will say your name every day and I'll do whatever I can for my fellow inmates. And I said inmates, as I never thought I'd get out of jail. A year later, he left prison for good. Despite many bumps along the road, Trejo transformed into a dedicated recovery counselor. Machete's garage. Wow, look at that photo. Beautiful. Beautiful. Throughout the book, certain figures loom large, chief among them his uncle Gilbert, the man who Trejo says introduced him to a life of crime from a painfully young age. Logue, the co-author, said, the various figures who filter in and out of the story each deserve their own chronicle. If you go down a rabbit hole on all these different characters, you are in Danny's book. You see how violence begets generational violence, Logue said. Things will happen when you are young that will set off on this journey. A reader gets the sense that Trejo's temper would have been harsher readings of many of those characters, including his parents. As the story progresses, the lives of his own children become a central thread. Women are ever present in Trejo's book from the earliest times. He writes frankly about his mixed record with spouses, recalling that someone remarked he was a guy who loved weddings except for the marriage part. That's a great line. I wasn't great at drawing the lines in my marriage, but I respected that line in recovery. Yeah, that's key. He writes at one point, there is probably an early wife. Wow, what a great image there. Recovery ultimately is the driving force in the memoir. Trejo, now 77, has more than 400 credits, according to IMDb, a remarkable achievement for someone who could barely have imagined a film career he prayed at Soledad in 1968. Acting wasn't new to me, Trejo writes. I acted to survive in childhood. I acted like I wasn't scared when I was terrified. In Folsom, I acted to keep my sanity. I had to move. I had to speak out loud. I had to hear my own voice. Today, I recognize how far Hollywood has gone to expand opportunities and roles beyond tough prisoner number one. On the topic of Latino representation, the subject of recent series of stories in the Times, Trejo says he welcomes the growing advocacy. But what's more plainly needed to move the needle, he argued, is more direct investment from high-powered producers of Latin American descent. And we have been touting this on the Latino slant all the time. People on top, Latin American people, do not want to produce films. He said, somebody named Smith isn't going to say, I want the Mexican in the lead. Stop crying and start putting some money up. It may sound like tough love, but after reading the book and talking to the man, you come away with a sense that Trejo's indomitable hardness serves as a kind philosophy. Trejo summarizes it in Trejo in a maxim his life story bears out. Everything good that's ever happened in my life, he writes, has come as a direct result of helping someone else and not expecting anything in return. And this article is by Daniel Valdez. Wow. And let me just kind of surmise and also say, we all love Danny Trejo and all the characters that he has portrayed. And if you read in some of his other recent news articles, he talks about being there for his children who are battling addiction as well. So let me just say this, as at this current time, I'm coming up on 6 years of being sober, that I understand exactly his success, and I understand how that success is even possible and how he can even show up every day since 1968. And that is incredible. And I'm happy that Trejo is trending today, and this is a fantastic article. Also, to surmise about wealthier Latin Americans, Latinos in the U.S. to put their money behind some of these independent filmmakers. That's a great idea as well. And I know Trejo is doing the best that he can to help push that. Trejo's an OG, man. And I also, what we'll do in this video is include some of his great speeches from his time in AA. There's a fantastic speech that he gives. It's a great audio speech, and I want you guys to check that out as well. So there you have it. Danny Trejo speaks out and talks about stereotypes. And and he it's amazing because he never puts down the roles that he did. He's always grateful. And he says those stereotypes opened up Hollywood for more Latino actors to get more work. And now, at the Latino slant, we're all about those roles becoming richer and fuller, and Latino actors acting outside of their heritage, outside of their culture. So this is a fantastic article. Congratulations, Danny, on all those years of sobriety and your new book. Wow, great times. Again, thank you for being here on the Latino Slant. Make sure you are subscribed, and please consider becoming a member to the channel. You guys take care. We'll see you on the next one. Paz y dale gas.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The slant. The slant. All right, Paul, let's go.